Hello, everyone. My name is Lucie. I am Product Marketing Manager at Vectra AI. I'm happy you can join us today for this threat briefing about Salt Typhoon. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce my colleague and co-host for this episode, Kostya, who is one of our top security researchers. You may already know him from his past talk about the Blackbuster ransomware on an earlier threat briefing episode. Hi, Kostya.
Hi, Lucie. Quick introduction. My name is Kostya Vasilkov. I'm a security researcher here in Vectra AI, and my professional background includes threat research, malware research and analysis, security engineering, and security efficacy testing.
Thanks, Kostya. During this episode, we'll discuss Salt Typhoon's behavior and how you can efficiently defend your organization against these APT groups. Now, let's give you some quick background about Salt Typhoon. Salt Typhoon is believed to be linked to the People's Republic of China and has been active since at least 2020. They use advanced malware, end-day and zero-day exploits, and living off the land techniques to stay hidden. In 2023, Salt Typhoon expanded its targets, added new regions, and became more aggressive globally. In 2024, they carried out a major attack on US telecommunications companies. Now that you have some background on Salt Typhoon, Kostya will walk us through their TTPs in detail.
Okay, so before we begin, I know you heard a lot of different names when referring to this APT group, and there is some kind of a confusion around it. So let's try to sort it out. As you stated, this APT group active from at least 2020. There's some people say from even 2019. And during this period of time, they were responsible for countless attacks and campaigns. And they were targeting a lot of different companies, and obviously each company has its own security control. Therefore, a situation arises where several security vendors researching the same attack or campaign or even different campaigns, but from the same APT. So each vendor comes with its own name for this APT group, and when their reports become public, security researchers start reading one another's report, and they start connecting the dots and correlating IOCs, and it becomes evident that most probably this APT group, basically all those attacks are from the same APT group. And some names are widely adopted by the security community and stick. In this case, it is Salt Typhoon. It is Microsoft's name. And by the way, they have a really nice naming convention. They name APTs by weather phenomena. So if it is a nation state APT, which originated from China, it will be called Typhoon. And that is most probably why you hear a lot of typhoons on the news these days. Okay. So the agenda for today. So as you stated, Salt Typhoon is very sophisticated and advanced APT group. They ran a big variety of attacks with a huge tool arsenal and many different tactics. Obviously, I can't list them all individually in one short session. So I try to take their modus operandi from multiple campaigns and to create one wide or broad overview, sorry, that covers as much TTPs as possible. So you will get the general idea of how they operate. And one thing that stands out from their TTPs is their extensive use of living off the land tools. And I thought it worth to do a breakdown of those of some of those commands they ran using built-in tools. And let's pause on that. Why this approach of using living off the land tools became so popular. And to explain, I'll use a small analogy. Imagine to yourself that you are a small kid again, and you have a play date with your friend at your home, and you are about to play hide and seek. But for some reason, your friend doesn't want to hide behind the objects that already exist in your house. So he shows up at your home with his home couch from his living room. And this brings up some obstacles, right? First and foremost, it will be very obvious where he will be hiding. Secondly, maybe your mom, as the security control, won't allow him to bring the couch inside. And lastly, the couch is kind of heavy, so he will need help carrying it around. I think you get the analogy. So let's move on and start the overview.
That's a good one.
So the first stage is the initial access. And for initial access, they mainly targeting public-facing servers with vulnerabilities. And during their recent campaigns, they used the end days exploits you see on the screen. And they use those exploits to remotely execute code on the public-facing servers. And we noticed that lately there is some tendency for APT groups to shift from phishing to exploits, because phishing is so 2023. No, I'm kidding. It is most likely because exploits are somehow more certain or independent, as it doesn't involve any human factor on the target side. It just dependent on them to run the exploit. So this is why it is so important to keep your software and hardware updated. I know it is challenging, but you should do your best efforts, because it can really make a difference. Okay, so with the remote code execution from the previous stage, they executing a PowerShell script which deploys one or even more of their customized malware. And there were attacks where they deployed Demodex rootkit, SnappyBee, Cobalt Strike, and all this customized malware are multi-purpose, and they use it for espionage, lateral movement, communicating home, backdoors, and etc. And this is only the first instance of execution and persistence, because later on in the attack lifecycle, when they'll have the need, they will deploy more and more malware. And even here, right from the beginning, they use living off the land tools. So let's break down two commands they use for execution and persistence. So the first one is the execution. They use PowerShell. PowerShell is Microsoft's command line, basically like CMD, but on steroids. They ran it with EX bypass flag. EX stands for execution policy, and bypass stands for bypass. So it basically allows them to run the script without any restrictions. And the last part is password. It is basically a key to decrypt their script, because their script comes encrypted. For persistency, they adding a registry value to the registry key that stores entries for programs that will automatically start when a user logs in. And they do so by using reg. Reg, it is a built-in command line utility to manage the Windows registry. Add means add a new key or value. Vflag basically means it is the name of the value. T is type. In this case, it's reg underscore sz, which means a string. D is the value data, basically the string itself. In this case, it is a path to their malicious file or executable. And F is force, do it without confirming. And obviously, I changed the command a bit. This is not the real file names, but if you would run this command on your computer, this is how your registry would look like. Okay. Next stage is recon. Again, they use here as well, they use a big variety of tools. They use port scanners and IP sweepers. They use built-in tools such as PowerShell that we have already discussed. They even use WMIC. It is a command line utility to work with Windows management instrumentation, and hence the name WMIC. By the way, C stands for command line. This tool is used for retrieving information about the system. And they use other built-in tools. So let's break down another command. Here you can see a command that will start CMD with C flag. C flag tells the CMD to execute the command and then terminate. They don't want to leave any open windows and attract victims' attention. Net is another command line utility. It is commonly used to manage the Active Directory. And here they use it to list all the members in the domain admins group, which is the default Windows group for domain admins. And the domain flag in the end tells the tool to query the Active Directory domain instead of the local computer. And using that line, they discover what are the username of domain admins. You can see here an example of the output of such command. Okay. Well, defense evasion, it's not a stage but by itself, but more of a technique as they they try to evade detection in each step of their attack. They actually do it anywhere, always, anytime. They do it by using built-in tools. They do so by using a technique called DLL side loading instead of executing a separate malicious executable. They clear and remove evidence and artifacts after themselves. They obfuscating and encrypting everything, their scripts, their executables, the network communication. And they also using a downgraded version of PowerShell, which is less restricted and basically allows them to do more without getting detected. And then they will try to harvest credentials for future use. They will do so by deploying Trill client toolset, which consists of various stealers. They will do credential dumping. They will use keyloggers, mimikatz, and many more. Then they will try to get higher privileges and permissions. They will achieve it by using Cobalt Strike and other rootkits. They will try to exploit many vulnerabilities. Again, even here, they will use built-in tools. So with the privilege escalation and credential access that they got from previous stages, they will try to start to move laterally, basically hopping from node to node. And if what they got so far from the previous stages is not enough to move laterally, don't worry, as they have more rabbits in their heads. Their attacks where they leverage the SMB exploit to spread around across the network. They used account hijacking, Kerberos attacks, and really many more techniques. Anyway, let's break down two commands with internal tools that they used to move laterally. The first command is self-explanatory. They're using CMD to copy a batch file from one node to another. Batch file is actually a script file that stores CMD commands. The thing that I highlighted here is double slash, and double backslash in Windows path. It means it basically indicates that it is a shared resource on the network. So they will try to copy that batch file from one machine to another. And to execute, they use the second command. As you can see, they're using Windows Management Instrumentation command line here that I mentioned before. And node flag specifies the IP of the target machine. Process call create will execute a new process on the target. And the last part is what the new process would be. In this case, it would be a CMD with a C flag again, and it will run a batch file that they have just copied. Okay. Okay, moving on. Here comes execution and persistence again. This is here only to emphasize what I said before. They execute and deploy malware along the way according to their needs. So it will happen a lot of times during the attack. And they have really a huge malware and backdoor arsenal, and their tools are advanced, modular, and stealthy. They use malwares such as Ghost Spider, Hemigate, Crowddoor. They even have a rat called Muscle, something like that, which is cross-platform and focusing on Linux services. They will also deploy web shells on servers and use it as backdoors. Okay, let's break down one last command. What's special about this command is the fact that it can fit under many TTPs. It is also it can fit also under execution and persistent, defense evasion, lateral movement, and privilege escalation. It's a bit long and messy, so I divided into separate lines. So let's start from the top. SC means service control. It is yet another Windows command line utility to work with Windows services. Double backslash, again, it is basically the host name, and it specifies the remote machine where the service is being created. Create is the action of create, and VGA tools, it is the name of the new service. They want it to look innocent, so it won't raise any suspicion. And that's why this unrelated name, VGA tools. Okay, type own means the service will run in its own process. Start auto means the service will automatically start each time the computer is restarted, and it will, even if no user will log on, the service will start just by the together with the machine, with the operating system. And here comes the tricky part. Okay, bin path. Bin path defines the path to the executable of the service. But here, if you noticed, we have two paths. The first is install util, which is another built-in command line utility that allows you to install and uninstall servers resources. And the second path is the malware's path. So Salt Typhoon are being naughty here. They abuse install util to install their malware. Quick recap. So they remotely create a service on a remote machine, which will automatically start when the machine will start, and it will execute install util, which will execute the malware. Brilliant. Okay, moving on. The next two stages are actually closely related: command control and data exfiltration. Salt Typhoon's deployed malware, such as Cobalt Strike, Demodex, and others as well, are constantly communicating with their C2 servers. This communication includes sending heartbeats to show what targets are still alive, getting updates, configurations, further actions and commands, and also obviously exfiltrating data. But they are also abusing public services for both data exfiltration and commons exchange, and they abuse services such as anon files, file.io, GitHub, Gmail, and again, many more. And the last stage is ongoing espionage and impact. It's basically means constantly spying on the target, on the victim, and stealing valuable information and data. And when and if needed, they have the ability to disrupt availability by manipulating operational processes. And that's it from my side. We've completed the attack.
Wow, that's quite a sophisticated arsenal here. Kostya. Now, let's talk a little bit about detection and how can you guys identify Salt Typhoon-like activities. I'd like to share with you this attack graph to show the AI-driven detections the Vectra AI platform would trigger during a Typhoon-like attack. This graph actually focuses on Salt Typhoon, which is much like Salt Typhoon.
Yet another typhoon.
Right, another typhoon. But they, as you can see, they employ similar techniques, like living off the land techniques that you just talked about, Kostya. So let me highlight a few key similarities between both of them. They both exploit weak points to gain a foothold, whether it's public-facing servers, in the Salt Typhoon's case, like you just explained, or external endpoints like home offices for Salt Typhoon here. They use stealthy tools, implants, to maintain long-term access. They both leverage PowerShell scripts, Credential set, and native Windows tools to explore the network and spread undetected. And as APT groups, they both aim to remain undetected for as long as possible before exfiltrating sensitive data. Now, the Vectra AI platform detects these attacks by focusing on real attack behaviors, not just known threats. So even when these groups use legitimate tools to hide, Vectra AI spots unusual activity across the network, cloud, and identity environments. During an attack like this, our platform would trigger detections like unusual remote access and execution, suspicious Kerberos activities, privilege anomalies, SMB brute force attempts, hidden tunnels, or unusual PowerShell usage in Azure AD. I'm not going to list all of our detections, we have many, but our platform correlates all of them and prioritize these attack signals so you can quickly identify and stop these threats before they spread. Now, this podcast is not a demo, so if you want to learn more about how Vectra AI can help you stop attackers like Salt Typhoons, visit Vectra.ai and check out our self-guided demo. That's it for today's episode. Thank you very much, Kostya. That was very much interesting. And thank you everyone for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights.